Manila, Mercurial Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has signaled a deliberate turn towards Australia, as Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull promised that Canberra would share more intelligence on terrorism networks with the island nation. The meeting came at the start of a day in which Mr. Turnbull also had a three-way meeting with US President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, on the sidelines of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, summit in Manila. Throughout a 5-day swing through Asia, Mr. Turnbull and Mr. Trump have worked together to press Asian nations to impose tougher sanctions against North Korea. Mr. Turnbull has spent more time with the US President than scheduled, indicating a firming relationship. The two men have asked officials to schedule a meal for them together before they leave the Philippines on Tuesday. They decided at the last minute on Monday to include Japan's Prime Minister Abe Shinzo in a meeting to talk about how to deal with North Korea's nuclear program, including pressing China. After the meeting, Mr. Trump complained that, "We have deficits with almost every Asian country and we will address this very quickly and very substantially." Standing alongside him, Mr. Turnbull interjected, "Except us," prompting laughter. Australia has a $17 billion trade deficit with the United States. Mr. Trump responded, "You are the only one. But, when I check I will probably find out it is not true." Mr. Turnbull assured him it was. Mr. Turnbull said he wanted to work with Mr. Trump and Mr. Abe to focus to ensure the North Korean reckless provocation and threat of conflict in the region. Mr. Turnbull and Mr. Duterte, whose war on drugs has left more than 14,000 Filipinos dead, agreed in their meeting to work closely together to prevent Islamic State-allied terrorists gaining a foothold in Southeast Asia. Mr. Turnbull said after the meeting the two leaders discussed growing concern about the threat of hundreds of hardened Islamic State fighters returning to their Asian home countries from Iraq and Syria. They also agreed to work to combat terrorists' use of the Internet. Australia troops are already training Philippine soldiers in urban warfare and to share some intelligence after the bloody siege of the southern Philippine city of Marawi by Islamic State-backed and financed militants. Australia also provided spy planes to assist the Philippine military in 4-month battle. Mr. Duterte has warned in the past that terrorists bring the worst out of me and shockingly told reporters, "If I have to face them, you know I can eat humans. I really will open up your body, just give me vinegar and salt, and I will eat you." The meeting with Mr. Duterte, a former provincial mayor who has often used vulgar language to lash world leaders who criticized the drugs killings, was one of Mr. Turnbull's most sensitive during a 5-day trip to Vietnam, Hong Kong and the Philippines. Last year Mr. Duterte bluntly told Australia to stay out of his country's affairs after Australia's ambassador in Manila criticized him for joking he should have been first in line when inmates raped and killed an Australian missionary during a jail riot in his hometown of Davao. But Mr. Duterte, who has boasted of personally killing criminals and even strangers, appears to have embarked on a diplomatic charm offensive as he hosts the ASEAN Summit and the security-focused East Asia Summit in Manila this week.